I'd like to cover a conversation that's been prevalent in the running community for the last several years, and it has to do with how should you run. There's been a long-standing controversial conversation about running on your forefoot, your midfoot, and rearfoot strike. Many people now believe that rearfoot strike is wrong-headed and that you shouldn't do it, and some shoes have even been designed in such a way that they totally prevent rearfoot strike. What foot strike pattern will be best for you? So to understand this, we have to look at the tests that have been done over the years on treadmills and videotaping runners going at different speeds. And foot strike has more to do with speed than anything else. One thing we know for sure, if you run fast, you're going to run on your forefoot. Think Usain Bolt coming out of the blocks, leaning forward 30 degrees, knees coming up to the chest, powering through with a huge amount of backswing and a lot of propulsion in the rear part of the gait when he's in the propulsion phase. You couldn't possibly strike your heel in a configuration like that. So these runners need almost nothing in the heel. What you have back here really doesn't have any impact on how they run. Putting an orthotic in a shoe like that is completely useless because they run on a tiny patch of shoe right up in this area here, and that's just about all the contact that they get. So, but most of us don't run like Usain Bolt, and we don't run flat out. We're talking about distance runners here, and when you slow down, we have to start thinking about economy of movement. How can you get the best amount of forward motion, the maximum amount of forward motion for the least amount of energy expenditure? And really, this is just a mathematical equation of great complexity. The reason it's complex is because you want to try and figure out how can I get myself to move through space and not have to eat much food. And this was a calculation that was figured out about 5 million years ago when we started chasing down animals and trying to get them on our dinner fire. So what happened was your cerebellum, which is the primordial part of your reptilian brain based on the base of your skull, has figured out a series of complex calculations that will get your body to move through space in such a way that it doesn't cost you nearly as much food. And in order to do that, it turns out that if you extend your heel out and strike on the outside of the heel, bring the foot through into the stance phase and then propulsion phase of the gait and toe off, you can engage the maximum number of muscles with the least amount of energy. And what we find is that runners who do marathons all tend to revert to a heel strike pattern late in the race. So even people who have been trained in the newer methods of midfoot strike will start reverting to a heel strike pattern because they get tired and they forget how to run properly, and then they revert to how they were trained to do it over millions of years of evolutionary engineering that has told us strike thy heel and grab the ground, pull yourself forward, and then propel off. This engages the maximum number of muscles throughout their most efficient range of contractility and gets you to the finish line with the least amount of energy. So should you strike your forefoot, midfoot, or rearfoot? Don't think about this too much. I think that the dumbest cerebellum is probably a lot smarter than the smartest biomechanist of today.